Hello, hello, hello. The mask is back, and we're at the final card of this month. It is actually or is it? I think it is. Oh, it's October 25th. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's actually, we're back in Abu Dhabi, finally, at last. It's actually in my opinion, top tier ahead of even all the other cards this month, because even though 320 on paper was great and executed the performance wonderfully, the prelims were not as stacked as this one. And the main card isn't quite as stacked as UFC 320, I wouldn't say. However, it's very close. Like, just because the top two fights aren't quite as competitive as the other three on paper, doesn't mean it's not an absolutely stacked card on paper, at least. Like I said, on paper, this is probably the most well-rounded card this unless there's some other fight night that's going to be announced that's absolutely stacked. I mean, the other pay-per-views 322 and 323 are looking really stacked too, but this era, this time, this is the most stacked right now, I would say. This card, within all the cards that are coming up, I'd say this is number one right now. And the ones that came out this month to watch, I would still say it's above 320, and even the other two fight nights combined. Those two were pretty fun, but man, I'm really hyped for this. Amarim, I'm going with by a first round submission. That might be a little risky. That might be a little surprising because Mizuki Inoue is actually really underrated, and she should not be this big of an underdog. I don't think. I think maybe like a 2-1, maybe like a minus 250 on Amarim's side, but Mizuki's really good. She had a split decision loss back on the regional scene against Verna Jandiroba, who's fighting for the title now, and she has a unanimous decision loss in the UFC against Amanda Lemos, who's actually in the camp for Verna Jandiroba. And Jacqueline Amarim is very active. That's the problem here. That's why I'm going with the first round submission, because I don't think Mizuki Inoue is ready. In fact, I think that she has the skills, but she's only lost to the best, and otherwise she's been completely winning, not spectacularly, but she's been like clearly shutting down the rest of her opponents when she wins. The problem is she's so inactive. Her fight against Verna Jandiroba was 7 years ago, 7+ years actually. I believe it was 7 and 5 months. Let me just, yeah, I mean, 6 months. I mean, this is just like that was her fifth most recent fight. Whereas Jacqueline Amarim, yes, she hasn't had all her fights within the span that Mizuki Inoue has had her most recent one. However, her three latest wins are in the span of Mizuki Inoue's inactivity. Jacqueline has three fights in the past 2 years, while Mizuki Inoue, it's going to be 2 years on the dot when she steps in the octagon against Jacqueline Amarim. This is a crazy inactivity difference. Okay, she is older. She has shorter reach by 4 inches. That is not negligible. That is very much something to look to. And I feel like Jacqueline Amarim, not only the fact that she has really good ability to transition from submissions into positions and ride out the rounds, I also think that she also has a very at least since the Corey McKenna fight, she's had a really surprising ability to show off her physicality. I was really impressed because even before that fight, I didn't really see that too much from her. Sam Hughes was kind of bullying her, but it seems like since the Corey McKenna fight, she's kind of been implementing a similar approach with more jujitsu and a little bit less striking that Sam Hughes was doing against her. So I feel like that she's going to be quite ferocious in the first round, and possibly Mizuki can win a 29-28 in the second and third, but I don't think that Jacqueline has a bad gas tank necessarily. I just think that Sam Hughes is able to put that pressure on you, and I don't think Mizuki's quite got that pressure. Mitch Raposo, although I like Mitch Raposo, I like Mizuki in a way, and I kind of want to see her win because um, I watched her. It was a while ago, but I watched her Octagon interview against when she won against Hannah Goldie, and it was quite wholesome. So I'm kind of rooting for her. Although I'm also at the same time rooting for Jacqueline Emerim because she's super active. She's getting a lot of finishes. She's a Christian, I believe. So there's a lot of reasons to root for Amarim as well. It's kind of hard to say which one I'd much prefer over the other. But Mitropozo as at Maxim, I'm going with another decision, 29-28. Not another decision, but first decision on the card. I think that Mitropozo, the problem with him, this is something that a lot of other MMA YouTubers have echoed in their predictions and opinions. It's that Mitropozo just doesn't really throw enough. And unfortunately, he is a really small flyweight, and it's not just that. Like there are a lot of flyweights that are around his height, but it's the fact that he's constantly going up against these taller ones, like Tagir Bekov, Suumar Derji, and Azat Maxim is the shortest of the three, so it is certainly going to be a little bit easier for him to find the target. However, I just feel like even still, his output has never really impressed me. Or actually, was his fight Tagir? No, it was Andre Lima. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Um, but Azat Maxim has some solid leg kicks, similarly to Andre Lima. He has faster hands, I think, especially in the first round. One thing I will say is Mitropozo can target the body quite well. That's something that Charles Johnson was doing well with some solid hooks and uppercuts to the body, mixing it up with some leg kicks downstairs as well. Mitropozo can do that. I think that I've seen some solid leg kicks from him. I haven't really seen a whole lot of body work, but I can trust in his style to do that. It's just the first round is going to be really hard, and the first round is going to be the pace setter. Whoever can win the first round, to me, it sets the tone for the rest of the fight. Until Azat Maxim hits the third round, because I feel like he always sort of does worse in the third round. Except for against Tagir, I felt like Tagir, round 3 was actually really solid from him. But I just think that like Mitropozo's wrestle boxing style with a couple solid leg kicks is just not enough. He just doesn't throw it out there enough, and it's like a Henry Cejudo sort of style with the grappling. It's just he'll keep you down for a little bit, but it's not going to be enough to make it um, override the strikes that were landed in the round. It's just not going to do that. And as at Maxim, he has really quick 1-2s. He has some solid hooks around the guard. He's just a really fast fighter, and I feel like he's gonna land some solid 1-2s in the first round. He's gonna kind of style on Mitropozo in moments, and I believe in one way or another, possibly a reverse of a takedown from Mitropozo, as that Maxim ends up on top. And I'm gonna say he kind of smoothly transitions to a Kimura, and he almost gets it, but the round ends, and from the second round onwards, he sort of slows down, but he does just enough in the second round, similar to the first, although a little bit worse. And then in the third round, Mitropozo is able to get to sort of pour it on almost. I think that he's going to be able to. He's going to try and measure the distance a little too much. He's not going to really. He's going to say, "Oh well, I had an all right second round," and he's going to, he's going to lay it off a little bit. But and he's probably going to be gassed from all the grappling and all that as well. But I'm going to be honest. I just don't think he'll do enough in the third round. I do think that the third round is Azat Maxim's weakest, generally speaking. But I don't think that Raposo's going to, with his low output style, do enough to showcase the weakness in the third round for Azat Maxim that greatly. He's going to win that round, no question, but it's going to be a hard one to like 10-8 or get a comeback in. Because he's going to be down 2 rounds, I guarantee it. Chris Barnett, Hamdi Abdelwahab. I'm going with Hamdi. Chris Barnett, his main attack we all know is the spinning head kick, spinning body kick, and he has sloppy hooks and a cross sometimes. But man, the feints is the only thing that is worrying for me when picking Hamdi Abdelwahab, because a lot of these heavyweights are slow, and Chris Barnett is genuinely one of the faster heavyweights on the roster. And he has been in the underdog section for most of his UFC fights, and he's proven us wrong in the past. But Hamdi, I think that he's smart. I think he's going to be reserved in his style. He's going to wait for the moments where Chris Barnett does the spin. He's going to be very cautious. He's going to be like MVP, where he looks like he's completely across the void. He's not even near Chris Barnett, and he's going to be circling a little bit. And then he's going to wait for the right moments. And then in the first round, probably in the second half of it, then he's going to start to pressure when he's avoided a few of those spinning attacks. And he realized that in the hands, he's going to have an advantage here. And then he's going to sort of, similar to what Mighty Mouse talks about, he's not going to be close enough for the head kicks, the spinning head kicks. And he's not going to be close enough or far enough for it. He's going to have that range. He's going to be away in that void. That's what DJ calls it, right? He's gonna be mastering the void game. I feel like with Hamdi, and then he's when he gets in close, it's gonna be just Hamdi foot stomps, pitter pat shots to the ear, sometimes knees to the thigh, a few little like almost meaningless body shots, but it's going to be more than what Chris Barnett's doing. And he might win a round off of some just ferocious spinning attack or some fast, quick twitch hook or cross, perhaps. But his striking efforts are mostly sloppy. He's super old. Even though they're both pathetic reaches and heights for the weight class, Hamdi has a better height. I think he's going to be able to utilize his um, boxing better than Chris Barnett's spins, which is more of a rely on a flashy KO sort of style. And I do think that Hamdi can implement a sort of Martin Buday style against Chris Barnett, where he's really just clinching a lot, just total strikes, 30-27 perhaps. Jose Delgado, Nathaniel Wood, and one thing we have to consider one more is Chris Barnett's coming off of an injury at 39. Like, we cannot assume that the spins are going to be the same. Jose Delgado, Nathaniel Wood. I do think that Nathaniel Wood's the faster guy for sure. However, I do think that getting dropped by Andre Fili and pretty much every other opponent that Nathaniel Wood has gone up against, aside from maybe I think it was Morgan Charrier, is the only one he didn't get dropped by in recent memory. Nathaniel Wood does not have a great chin. It's also the fact that he's fighting at a higher weight class than what his body is naturally used to. However, the speed definitely helps him. It's just the fact that it's such a difference with Jose Delgado. He is one of the bigger featherweights in the weight class, and I could possibly even see him make lightweight. I could totally see that in the future if he's like probably when he's 30 or 31. I could see something like that. And Nathaniel Wood, it's just like he's losing to these, not losing, but he's like making it close and competitive. Where it's like, okay, if you didn't land those five strikes, it could be either way. It could be 50-50. Jose Delgado, he really I think the difference is he really pours it on, and I don't think that Nathaniel Wood's fancy footwork or clean, crisp, fast boxing, the 1-2 into the hook, the fakes into the hook, or the uppercuts even, or the overhand, I don't think it's going to be there for Nathaniel Wood nearly as much. Whereas Jose Delgado, he has a nasty overhand, he has really good hooks, and the knees are very useful in this fight. I think that the knees against Nathaniel Wood, coming in, being the much shorter guy, being the much less rangy guy, it's going to be hard for him to close the distance. It's going to be akin to sort of, except for the fact that Islam was countering with the cross, I think that it's going to be akin to Volkanovski versus Islam in the first fight, where he's trying to close the distance and he just can't. He's just getting countered, but except for the fact that it's going to be a knee instead of a cross. I think that Jose Delgado is going to sort of have a bit of a slow start because Nathaniel Wood, as opposed to Haider Emil, is going to be on the back foot more so, and he's going to be looking for his moments to blitz in and out, and he's going to try and work some takedowns perhaps, try and be a little more slick, try and be a little more technical. But Jose Delgado is still going to stay patient, sort of like Ilia Topuria, but with huge physique, huge knees up the middle, and he's going to find one of those, and he's going to follow up with a nice ground and pound. I think that even though Nathaniel Wood moves more than a Haider Emil, if he just gets caught by one of those, or even an uppercut, it could be night-night for him. It's like, if Haider Emil with his granite chin can't take that, I don't imagine Nathaniel Wood to. And moving on, we got Walter Walker. I mean, Louis Sutherland, I don't know anything about him. He seems like he's okay, to be honest. He's got a 4-fight win streak, which is more than you could say about a lot of the other guys that they're still keeping in the UFC heavyweight division. And I want to see some good things from him, but I really like Walter Walker. He has a really cool personality. Lots of these other guys seem to think so too now. I don't understand why he's still quite low on the card. People were surprised to see that he got moved down on the card in the UFC Brazil one, and they're still putting him down there. I don't understand why they're putting a guy with 3 leg locks in a row this low on the card when even the crowd gets hyped for him when he gets those leg locks. And he always makes it interesting. He always makes it fun. He's 6'6". He's got a huge reach. He's a personality. He's young. I really don't understand why he's this low on the card. And I say all that to say, I think I'm gonna go with another perhaps heel hook. I could see like another leg related submission. I could see a knee bar, heel hook, those types of things. I could perhaps see a rear naked choke off of chaining into a knee bar. He then gets the back and then he gets the rear naked. I could see stuff like that. I could also see Louis Sutherland with his dangerous ground and pound, perhaps, since he seems like that kind of guy with his shoulders there. I mean, I haven't seen him fight, but I could tell he's like a vicious ground and pound guy. So I could see him unloading on Walter Walker there if he messes up, going for a heel hook. But I think that he has the technique down. So I'm going with first round submission from Walter Walker. I worry for him in the ground and pound situations if he goes for it and he just doesn't quite have it and the guy's on top and he just can't really do anything about it, or that his striking isn't good, because it isn't. He has like an overhand and some sloppy hooks on the guard, but I'm going with him. I think he has really good submissions, really good jiu-jitsu. Abdul Karim Al Swadi. I'm going with Al Swadi because even though I was leaning towards, I was considering Gabe Green against Mateus Camilo, I ultimately changed my mind. And watching that fight live, my goodness, Mateus, how is he in the UFC? That's all I can say on that. His punches look like they're in slow motion. He looks like he doesn't really know what he's doing out there. His defense isn't very intelligent. Al Swadi isn't very good either, but they're giving him a layup here, I'm pretty sure. I'm gonna say at 30-27, pretty clear. I just think that Mateus Camilio, he has like some hooks. Specifically, the lead hook is kind of okay. His follow ups are pretty nice sometimes. Sometimes he'll throw with some ferocity, but it's just the speed is very lacking. And even still, like against a guy who I would hope that he would have the power, most of his fights have been decisions outside the UFC. Most of his wins, okay records, fair enough, but you can't rely on a decision against Al Swadi when you're Mateus Camilio, who looked terrible against Gabe Green. Mateusz Rąbecki and Ludwig Klein. I'm going with Ludwig Klein. It's definitely a hard fight to predict for sure. Mateusz Rąbecki, I always pick his fights wrong. He always surprises me. He always upsets the odds in general. Almost always. He either pretty much okay when he's a favorite he loses. When he's an underdog he wins. It's really weird, but I'm going with Ludwig Klein. Hopefully, I'm proven right this time around. I think that Ludwig Klein's fast twitch Muay Thai boxing combinations is amazing. The way he was able to counter the 6'3" monster that is Ignacio Bahamondes was amazing, and then he has some fast double legs. Offensively, he's really great in the grappling. It's just that defensively, he's not all there. He can get taken down very easily by Mateusz Gamrot, and you saw against Charles Oliveira the levels that there was against Matej Gamrot versus Charles Oliveira, the levels, the sheer size. Ludwig Klein is not a big lightweight. He isn't. He's honestly a fairly small one, but he does not like the weight class of featherweight, you could tell, which is why he moved up. And he has a good pop. He has a good speed in this weight class. But Mateusz Rąbecki, he does have a really nice overhand. He has some really good takedowns early as well. I just don't trust him to pace himself because I haven't seen him pace himself too greatly in the past. We did see it a little bit against a oral by. He paced himself and found the shot in the third round, the overhand. But the overhand is a little predictable these days. It's fast, it's explosive, but Ludwig Klein has a really good one too. He really has good step-in hooks, and he even has a solid uppercut as well. So I do think Ludwig Klein has more tools here, and he even he has some really good low kicks, I must say. That's something that people don't really rate too highly, and they should. Some elbows as well I've seen against AJ Cunningham. I think this is going to be a pretty clear-cut 30-27. And Jung Park, I am going with a Jung Park 29-27. Or no, I'm actually going with a KO in the second round. And that's going to surprise some people. But I'm going with Jung Park by second round KO because I do think that even though it's proven that Jung Park, when the pressure's put on him, he doesn't have a great chin, he doesn't have the greatest defense, and for that reason he can be knocked out. However, against who exactly are we talking about? Oh yeah, Gregory Rodriguez, who arguably should be ranked right now. He beat a guy who was at one point in the top literally 10 in Jack Hermanson, and he was just like pretty much one win away from getting back into the rankings after beating Gregory Rodriguez. He didn't, Jack Hermanson, but we're talking about Gregory Rodriguez, who is the most underrated guy on the roster, let's be honest. He did lose to a Jared Cannonier, but he's going to win against guys who aren't able to pour the pressure on more than he does. If you're a striker who likes all the fancy footwork, he'll probably get to you with a takedown and just smash you. It's just a matter of, are you more gritty than him? That's pretty much all it is with him. Jin Young Park could not be more gritty than him because he really is a welterweight. And Ikram Eliskarov isn't the biggest middleweight either. He is bigger, but aside from the grappling, which we haven't seen, I do think that Jung Young Park is the faster, slicker striker overall. Ikram Eliskarov, he is the more powerful striker. He's the more patient striker, and that's why I'm picking Jung Young Park. I think that the patience is going to get to Ikram Eliskarov because we've seen these other opponents respect Ikram far too much, and Jung Young Park does kind of wait sometimes. We have seen him in his last fight. He waited like 2 minutes before he actually got going. But Jung Young Park's 1-2 into he's like 1-2-3 is nasty. He has a really good 1-2, really good 1-2-3-4. He has a really good 1-3. Like he has really good like okay, I'm in and out, pocket boxing. He has really good and sometimes he gets caught in between, no question. But he eats those shots to come forward. Ikram Alaskarov does have some really nasty power. We've seen that. However, these guys that he's knocking out as well, we have to consider don't have great chins, don't have great defense. Like it was kind of a nothing burger against Andre Muniz until he found the shot, and then he kind of just unloaded on him. But against Warley Alves, he's knocking out like people are saying, "Oh man, he's knocking these guys out like crazy." What's the guy's name? Freaking, I can't even remember. It's so bad. Phil Hawes, Warley Alves. Okay, Andre Muniz. Andre Muniz is the highest level guy that he had, and look at what Edmund Shabazian did to him. He basically did the same thing at this point. Okay, and nobody's glazing Edmund Shabazian for landing a nice 1-2 or a nice hook around the guard. Okay, Ikram Eliskarov can do the same thing, but he has a worse chin than Edmund. He maybe has a better gas tank. He maybe has better grappling. He probably has better grappling. But Jung Young Park also has really solid grappling, and his pressure is relentless. So especially round 2 and onward. So I'm gonna say that Jung Young Park in the second round he finds his momentum, and we haven't seen Ikram. Like I said, we haven't seen Ikram against a heavy pressure guy like a Jung Young Park. We haven't seen that. We've seen these guys back up against him. Robert Whitaker was the only guy that was willing to press forward against Ikram because he saw that he had the speed advantage, and so will Jung Young Park. So I'm going to go with a second round KO. Quillen Selkild versus Nasrat Hakparast. I'm going with Selkild by a 29-28 decision. I think that he has the faster hands. The thing that I didn't like in his fight IQ in his last fight against Yanel Ashmouz was going for the takedown so much. I understand that Yanel Ashmouz is a very explosive guy. However, in the striking, I do not actually think that he's all that. He has some really, really good hooks. They're fast, they're explosive. He hits the chin really well. He finds the target very solid. And Quillen Selkild, I did not like him gassing in the third round, but that's because of his bad game plan, in my opinion, due to the grappling. Nasrat Hakparast does not often constantly push in the grappling. He really likes his 1-2. I mean, I'm basically saying like lots of these guys have one really really good 1-2s, but Nasrat in particular, he really goes to that as well. His backhand, honestly, he sets up the overhand quite solidly with the faking the 1-2. Sometimes he'll fake the jab and make it look like it's going to be a 2 behind it, but it's actually going to be just the freaking overhand instead of the jab or the straight left, or is it the straight right? I forget if he's southpaw or orthodox, but point stands. I do think that Quillen Selkild, he's just a much faster striker. I feel like Nasrat, he has some really solid straight punches too, but you saw against. I understand that it's I understand that it's Anshul Jubli, but you saw against the GOAT Anshul Jubli, he has really really straight tight punches. Does Quillen Selkild? He has really really insanely tight boxing straight punches, and Nasrat has some really good overhands. He has a nice 1-2, and I do think that Nasrat might be able to compete in the speed and the power, but I do think that Quillen Selkild, when it comes to straight punches, he's a little more technical there, and so I think he's going to be hitting the target a little better than Esteban Ribovic, seeing that he has the better reach than an Esteban, seeing that he has the better height, and seeing that Quillen Selkild has the wrestling that he can go to if he feels like it, because Dan Hooker was able to go to that. That's not a great sign in this. People aren't remembering that. Decision, 29-28. Alexander Rakic and Azamat Mirzakhanov. I am going with Rakic by a 29-28 decision. Lots of 29-28s on this card. See, that's why I'm saying I don't think it's going to play out like 320, but on paper, it's a better card. I'm going with 29-28. We have seen against Dustin Jacoby, as Matt Mirzakhanov, he was hitting the target, he was dropping him, he was rocking him. However, in the third round, he gassed heavily because of that. And in the second round against a Alonzo Menefield, the highest level guys that he's gone up against are practically just number 14, number 15 in the division. We've seen that he gasses, and he was gassing against Alonzo Menefield before he found the shots, before he found like a counter hook, I think it was, and then an uppercut. We have seen his gassing. We have seen, especially against Dustin Jacoby. Dustin was going for takedowns. Dustin was doing a bad fight IQ in that fight. Perhaps he was also a little bit gassed, and he just thought, oh, maybe one of the judges will give me one of the earlier rounds because I was outpointing him. And Dustin Jacoby's very underrated too. He has a really good kickboxing game. He comes from a kickboxing background. But Alexander Rakic has hit higher levels with his kickboxing strategy, with his kickboxing style. He has more lethal kicks. Granted, he doesn't have as good hands, I don't think, as a Dustin Jacoby. But he has a nice jab, a really nice jab. He has a Alexander Rakic has a really good counter overhand, honestly. We saw him land that overhand from Yuri coming in recklessly a lot in that fight. And those leg kicks were constantly disabling the momentum from Yuri, destabilizing. And it dropped Thiago, I think a Thiago Moises multiple times. Anthony Smith, it dropped him, those leg kicks. I think Alexander Rakic is just way more technical, whereas Azamat Murzakanov, he's a more technical, fundamental boxer, but it's going to be really hard for him to get inside against a guy who has much better defense than a Brandon Ribeiro. It's not great, but it's much better than Brandon Ribeiro, who relies a lot on his reach and his attributes to be able to sort of uh, I guess poke with the lead hand. I think prod with the lead hand is the right word. He like prods with the lead hand and he doesn't do much else. He doesn't really have a great tight high guard, and Rakic doesn't have the best one either. But it's certainly better than a Brandon Ribeiro. And so I do worry about Rakic's chin because one clean clubbing right from Mirzakhanov can spell the end of the fight. But I do think that the bounciness from Mirzakhanov starting rounds 2, rounds 3 is going to really hinder him. And I even think a round 3 TKO is something that's a possibility for Rakic here. He can go to the grappling too. He has a really good sweep that he hit against Jan Blachowicz. He was staying on top the whole time, staying safe in that round. I see a pretty clear-cut 29-28 for Rakic. I think he can go to the grappling too. I'm going with Jailton Almeida versus against Volkov in a first-round submission late in the first round. And the reason is I definitely like Volkov. I'm really hoping that he wins. I'm rooting for him here. He got robbed against Cyril Gane. We all know this. And people are trying to now gaslight into saying, oh, it's closer than I thought. No, honestly, it's more separate in the actual scorecards than how it should have been. It isn't closer than what we actually initially thought. No, it's a better argument 30-27 than it was for any judges scoring Cyril Gane. Rounds 2 and 3 were so clear to Volkov. He was holding on to one Kimura that absolutely was not in. It did not threaten whatsoever. Did Cyril Gane's, and otherwise, Alexander Rakic landed, or Volkov landed, all the significant, meaningful strikes in that round. Although it wasn't much, he did land way more than whatever Gane landed in that round. And on top of that, Gane was just laying, so he had the control time as well. And in the first round, it was very close. Like, only thing is, Gane had a really tight guillotine that did look like it needed to be addressed by the end of the round. So I can understand the first round going to Gane, but aside from that, the striking was insanely close. I'd slightly lean Volkov in that round for the striking, and in the grappling it was close, but you'd lean towards Gane because he had that tight guillotine. Jailton Almeida, he is faster than Gane. He has a beautiful double leg. He's been widening his striking arsenal, and it might not be good because he might trust his striking a little too much in this fight, but he has been showing the ability to go for that jab overhand, that jab hook we've seen against Sergey Spivak. Those are kind of strikes that were hurting a Spivak. But this isn't Spivak, is it? Like, Spivak is super overrated. He has a jab, and the rest of his stuff is basically negligible. Whereas Volkov, he has those stabbing teep kicks, but I think that Gelton Almeida is going to be much more wary of that. He's going to try and catch those kicks, and he's going to stay at range. He's not going to be as aggressive. He's going to wait for the opportunities. And Alexander Volkov on his back, he's not that great. Like there are certain positions where he does get up quite easily, quite well against like against Cyril Gane. He was able to turtle in certain moments. He was able to, off of the leg lock attempt from Cyril Gane, he was able to get on top. But these are rookie mistakes that Gane made, I would say. So Gilton Almeida, his A game is the grappling. It's to search for the back. It's to hunt for the back. It's to get that double leg, scoop up your legs, then find his way to the back, grab the grab the what's it called? I'm like making the motion with my hands right now. It's like the lock around the waist, and then drag him down, get the hooks in, get the choke. I could definitely see a rear naked choke here, but I'm actually going with like a neck crank. I think he's gonna get one hook in. He's gonna get with the leg. He's gonna get one hook in. And Volkov is just not going to be able to turn because this is heavyweight. Even though he's one of the more athletic ones, it's just not going to be enough. And even though he's going to get pieced up on the feet, Jailton, once it gets to the mat, probably in the last 30 seconds of the round, I do see him just squeezing on the chin, and it's going to be too much for Volkov. He hasn't really felt the squeeze that a Jilton Almeida puts on him. He hasn't really felt the submission grappler that a Jilton Almeida is. So even though I think that Volkov has shown good enough takedown defense in moments in his past, and I do think that he could beat up a gassed Jilton Almeida in rounds 2 and 3, off of the beautiful teeth kicks, further gassing him. Nice 1-2s, nice spinning attacks. He has a really good spinning back fist we've seen against Gane. I don't really think it's going to be enough. I think that even Jailton Almeida can win a decision off of the heavy pace on the grappling. Mario Bautista, Umar Nurmagomedov. I mean, it's not really much to say here. I'll go with a decision just because it's more safe. I could see a submission here, to be honest, but I'm going with Umar via 30-27. I think that Mario Bautista is going to level change really good, find good footwork, good angles, cut off the cage really well in the first round. However, I do think that Umar, with the power advantage that he has, the fact that Mario Bautista, even though he has really accurate punches, he doesn't really have a lot of pop, let's be honest. Against Ricky Simone, that was kind of just the accuracy of his punches. Let's be honest, I don't think he has the power advantage. I don't think he has the dexterity advantage. Umar just is really gifted. He's really genetically gifted. And I do think that if he finds the clinch, if he finds the takedowns, he's going to mitigate most of the damage in the judges' eyes in the first round. And from round 2 and round 3 onward, I just think there's going to be a huge strength advantage there because Umar Nurmagomedov, his style, what he likes to do is he always likes to fight you with the grappling. Even though against Merab, it just wasn't something that he should have done all too much. He should have been trying to go for question mark kicks after setting it up with the body and the legs. He just didn't really go for that. He just likes, even though sometimes he does go for the striking, especially early, he just doesn't really continue that way as much as he does with the heavy pressure grappling, especially if he doesn't like what he sees in the feet. He'll just try and go for a heavy wrestling game plan in the later rounds. And so I do think that he's going to land some nice front kicks. He's going to land some solid 1-2s into the head kick. That's another thing that he likes to do. I've seen it's sort of a Carlos Condit-esque combo he likes to do. I've seen that sort of, he shows the jab and then he goes into a head kick, or he even he shows, I think it was against Roundy Barcelos, he shows the knee and then he lands a short shovel uppercut or a hook. Like, he's pretty sneaky with some of his shots, and he has a really good vision for these things. He has a really good like head movement. Not the best high guard. Certainly, he keeps his hands quite low, to be fair. And Mario Bautista can capitalize on that by landing the jab into a hook or something like that, because he really finds good angles for those hooks. And he has a pretty good jab, pretty underrated, I would say. The footwork is something that people should talk about, and they do. But his actual tools is his hands, and people don't talk about that enough. He really utilizes those really well. He might actually be able to find moments in the clinch, but I can't rely on that against a guy who's really proven against high level guys like Corey Sandhagen, like a clearly losing 3-2, but still close fight against Merab Dvalishvili. With those head kicks that he was able to land, they're just so snappy. They're so dexterous. Like, um, they come at you with angles. He has angles that you don't really see coming. It's not like a Yuri where it's like a heavy pressure sort of angles that you don't see coming, but it is like a sneaky little thing. It's like It's like I would say it's more like a combination of Sean O'Malley and Islam Makhachev. I would say is Umar Nurmagomedov. I would kind of lean towards that, except maybe a little bit less with the hands, perhaps. But yeah, 30-27. I think first round's going to be quite competitive. It's going to be like arguably 50-50. Maybe on one of the judges' scorecards, it's a 29-28 for Umar, but then second and third round is going to be a clear Umar. So 29-28, 30-27, 30-27 for Umar. And I'm actually going to go with Mackenzie Dern via a third round submission. Now the reason is, or maybe fourth. I'm going with a, yeah, I'll go with a third. The reason is I think that Verna is really good. She is really underrated. However, in her hands, she's just okay. She steps in after landing a few solid leg kicks, being the bigger, stronger girl. She doesn't have to really worry most of the time against these shorter, sort of stockier boxers or more sloppy strikers. Even against Yan Jianyan, she was able to sort of land hooks around her, some hooks around the temple due to Yan Jianyan respecting the grappling. But the thing is, against Mackenzie Dern, she doesn't have to worry about that because Mackenzie Dern has been really much more smart in her last two performances, going to the grappling immediately as soon as possible. Not immediately, but as soon as she can. She tests out the striking against Amanda Ribas, and even though I hope that she doesn't rely on her striking far too much because we saw against Jessica Andrade, who isn't the best these days. She didn't look great, but we saw against Amanda Ribas, who honestly is a pretty decent kicker. Not that threatening in the hands, but she's a really good snappy kicker, and especially for strawweight. And she was able to kind of walk through those strikes from Amanda Ribas. Mackenzie Dern was kind of going through, just working her in the clinch and finding the takedowns. I do think that Verna Jandiroba, the thing is, she gets the respect with her striking because she has some really good jiu-jitsu, really good takedowns, and she finds the back. However, Mackenzie Dern, honestly, I was surprised how well she handled her last opponent in Amanda Ribas. I do think that she is the better pure Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu girl. I don't think her takedowns are as good. However, she has been improving as you've seen fight by fight. And Jessica Andrade, her it's basically power punchers, Amanda Lemos and Jessica Andrade, who for even though Amanda Lemos doesn't have the best takedown defense, these two girls have solid takedown defense. Mackenzie Dern doesn't have to worry about the power coming back at her against Verna Jandiroba. She doesn't have really any KOs, and she's older. She's going to be slower. She always was quite slow, I must say, is Verna. The reach and height is pretty much the same. I do think that Mackenzie Dern is going to be stronger in there. She's more. She looked really strong against Amanda Ribas. I understand Ribas a few fights ago, not super recently, but a few fights ago, she was strawweight, and she's not the most high level, but just the way that she was able to almost manhandle her, it was really impressive. So I do think that she's not going to be better with the pure takedowns, but if Verna's going to try and push that, seeing as Mackenzie Dern is making it competitive on the feet because Verna is only slightly better, she's only actually technical while Mackenzie Dern is sloppy but ferocious. Only slightly, basically only slight diff in the striking. She's going to try and test out the grappling and realize, wait a minute, she's actually really, really good here. She's probably the best BJJ practitioner in the weight class, pure BJJ. And she's going to probably get, I'm going to say like an armbar, to be honest. I think that she's going to get the back for a couple minutes. And then Verna's going to try and rotate off it. Mackenzie Dern latches the arm in the scramble, and she taps out Verna. Cyril Gane versus Tom Espinal. I'm going with Tom Espinal by a big Shelly. A big Shelly, as Lucas would say. I'm going with a first round KO. Or I could see a sub here. I'll go with, yeah, I had a feeling it's slightly more KO. But I am going with a submission. It is the more safe pick here because Cyril Gane, he got clubbed by a overhand right from a Tai Tuivasa, But for the most part, his jab is very on point. His stabbing teep kicks are amazing. He does have some nice tappy low kicks. His knees are pretty good when he gets into the clinch. So it's going to be a little hard for Tom to work his game fully. But Tom Espinal's so fast and strong in the first round. I do think that he's going to be able to trip Cyril Gane at moments when he gets that body lock. That's what I was looking for. I was saying like, oh, he's gonna. I was saying they're gonna lock the hands around the hips for a previous fight, but it's a body lock I was looking for. That's the right word. And I do think that Tom Espinal with his fast one too, it's gonna get the respect of a Cyril Gane. I do think that it's gonna rock him at one moment in the first round. Cyril Gane's gonna start strong with some solid low kicks, some solid teep kicks. It's gonna keep Tom at bay, but at one moment, Tom is going to time the kick, and he's going to land a beautiful 1-2 that rocks Cyril Gane. And Cyril tries to back away, but Tom Espinal is already too close to him. Cyril's too close to the fence. I do think that he's going to give up the back. I do think that he's going to try and roll for something. Cyril Gane, seeing as in so many of his previous fights, he always rolls for something, even when he's on top, even when he's in a dominant position. He always tries to give it up for a heel hook or for some stupid submission, for a Kimura that's not really there, like against Volkov. It's just the height is the reach is close. Cyril Gane does have a better reach and he utilizes it quite well, but the height, the age, the speed, the power, it's all on Tom's advantage, and I do think that offensively he's a better grappler. We haven't seen him off his back. We haven't seen if Cyril Gane can implement his grappling against Tom Espinal, but I'm going to rely on Tom Espinal showing the more strong grappling overall, showing less weakness in his past fights. It's possible that Cyril Gane can land some takedowns of his own, perhaps, but ultimately I do think that Tom Espinal, in outside of the octagon, even inside the octagon, he has shown a more versatile submission game. Submission game. He has shown the versatility outside in the BJJ when he's on the mat. We've seen him go for the butterfly hooks, the sweeps that he's able to get in training. It's impressive. Um, and against guys that are fairly athletic for the heavier weight classes. So I think that he's training with like Mario Pinto, who we just saw is like a really skilled grappler. So I think that lately he's been training more his grappling, and Cyril's gonna he's gonna expect somewhat of a grappling game, but he's gonna expect a striking style from Tom, and it's going to be mostly the grappling. He's going to be like, okay, if it comes, it comes for the wrestling, but he's probably going to try and land that big 1-2 over me. He's probably going to try and do those oblique kicks, those knee stomps, and then come in with something big. But then, oh, no, wait, he's actually got the body lock. Oh, he's dragging me down. Oh, he's on top. Oh, now he's landing some vicious ground and pound, and he's forcing me to turn around and give me the net and give up my neck. It's going to be a rear naked choke or even a Kimura like against Volkov. I see this being very similar to Volkov. Only thing is the footwork's going to be harder, and only thing that isn't as hard, or that might be a little bit. Yeah, no. That isn't as hard. Is the jab isn't going to be as hard to get past as the front kicks or the teeps from Volkov, seeing as he is taller, he is longer and rangier. Even though I think Volkov has like an 80-inch reach, not as an 81, his legs are longer. That you can clearly tell is longer than Cyril Gane's. Like he towers over these guys. I wouldn't be surprised if he's like 6'8", 6'9", to be honest, because he's like the only guy that actually properly looks like his height. A lot of these guys, I mean, Thomas Will might be like a short 6'5", honestly, but a lot of these guys are like 6'4", 6'3". They're more like 6'2", 6'1", if we're being honest. Not these guys in particular, but anyways, I'm going with Tom Espinal. He also has, like, people look at the 1-2. He also has some solid hooks. He has a really nice elbow. He crashes in with that elbow against Marcin Tybura beautifully, and he gets you thinking about that slicing elbow, and then he comes around with a really nice straight cross down the pipe. Like, dude is accurate and he's fast. So I do think Cyril Gane can win a decision. He can certainly win a TKO due to those body teeps, but I can't rely on that. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Mask of MMA out.